Black single dad opened the wrong hospital door, met a dying woman, and married her a year later. Marcus Johnson never believed in destiny. Life had taught him that survival came from grit, not miracles. At 36, Marcus was a black single father, raising his 6-year-old son Elijah alone in a small rented apartment. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier from a sudden illness, leaving him with grief, debt, and a child who still woke up crying for his mother in the middle of the night. Marcus worked 2 jobs, day shifts at a delivery warehouse and night security at a medical complex, just to keep food on the table and lights on. That night, exhaustion followed him like a shadow. Elijah had a fever, not dangerous but high enough to scare Marcus. He rushed him to the hospital after his shift, his uniform still smelling of sweat and disinfectant. The emergency room was packed, loud and chaotic. Nurses moved quickly, names were called, and machines beeped constantly. A nurse handed Marcus directions. Room 312, pediatric observation. Marcus nodded, holding Elijah tightly as his son's head rested on his shoulder. But in his tired, anxious state, Marcus opened the wrong door. Room 314. Inside, the lights were dim. The air was quiet. No monitors screaming, no staff rushing. Just a woman lying alone on a hospital bed. She was pale, fragile, and impossibly still. Marcus froze, about to apologize and leave, when her eyes slowly opened. "Please, don't go," she whispered. Her voice was weak, barely there. Marcus hesitated. He wasn't supposed to be here, but something in her eyes, fear mixed with loneliness, stopped him. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "Wrong room. I'll call a nurse." "No," she said again, tears forming. "Just stay for a minute. I haven't seen anyone in hours." Marcus looked down at Elijah, then back at her. He stepped inside and closed the door. Her name was Claire Whitman. She was 32, terminal cancer, stage 4. The doctors had been honest. She didn't have long. Her family lived overseas. No visitors, no flowers, no one to hold her hand when the pain came. Marcus sat in the chair beside her bed, Elijah sleeping peacefully on his chest. They talked about nothing important and everything. Claire asked about Elijah. Marcus talked about being a single dad, about losing his wife, about how some days he felt like he was barely holding himself together. Claire smiled sadly. "You're stronger than you think," she said. Marcus laughed softly. "People say that when they don't know what else to say." She looked at him and said something he would never forget. "People who survive broken lives don't realize how rare they are." That night, Marcus stayed longer than he should have. Before leaving, Claire reached for his hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "Tonight, I didn't feel invisible." Marcus walked out shaken, confused, and strangely lighter. He never planned to go back. But the next night, after his shift, he did. And the night after that. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they sat in silence. Sometimes Marcus brought Elijah, who drew pictures for Claire and taped them to the wall beside her bed. The nurses noticed. "She smiles more when you're here," one of them said. Weeks passed. Claire's condition worsened. One night she cried, not from pain but from fear. "I'm scared," she admitted, "not of dying, but of being forgotten." Marcus held her hand. "You won't be. Not to me." On her hardest night, when machines surrounded her and doctors whispered outside the room, Marcus stayed until morning. And then, she survived. Against the odds, the treatment began working, slowly, miraculously. Months later, Claire was discharged. Marcus thought that was the end. Different worlds, different lives. But Claire found him. She showed up at the warehouse one afternoon, thinner, wearing a scarf, smiling like someone who had fought death and won. "I promised I wouldn't disappear," she said. They started as friends. Coffee, park walks, watching Elijah laugh.
Marcus struggled with guilt. Loving again felt like betrayal, but Claire never pushed. "I'm here to walk beside you, if you let me." A year passed. Claire's scans came back clear. One evening, Marcus stood in the same hospital hallway where everything had begun. This time, he wasn't scared. He got down to one knee. "Elijah and I opened the wrong door, and it saved our lives. Will you marry me?" Claire cried. Elijah cheered. They married 6 months later in a small ceremony. No luxury, just love, gratitude, and a future neither of them had expected. Marcus still didn't believe in destiny. But sometimes, he admitted, some doors are meant to be opened by mistake.